So what everybody should have been able to do so far is get into staging. And if you haven't, let me just show you very quickly how to do that. Oh, sorry. So you should be able to access staging with this URL. And I will paste that into the chat. And if you get prompted for a username and password, you just enter YRL and YRL. And from there, you should be able to log in. Everybody should have received their login. Let's see if Lena changed her password. Everybody's email address for everybody's username right now is their email address. And their password is YRL training, all lowercase. And then you should be able to get into the back end. And I'm just gonna log out because I don't want to log in as Lena. And then you should all have access to the front end. And I'm gonna focus on the training site. So it's just YRL training.staging.yrl.ca. And every time you get this browser prompt, it's just gonna be YRL, YRL. And what you also should have access to is your own library's website. So let's say Leduc. Everybody's website should currently look the same because you have been your content has been started from the starter website, which Lena and Andrew have worked on. But you can modify your website from then. But most of what I'll be doing so that everybody's looking at the same thing is on the training site. Has anyone had trouble accessing the back end or the front end?
Peter, we did ask them to give it a try before the training. Would you prefer us to log into the YRL training.staging for this training today or into the manage.staging?
Both, because I'm going to show you the back end.
Okay.
For editing, and then we'll see YRL training for the effect on the front end.
Okay.
But what everybody should see when they log into the back end is, if I can get my test one right, YRL editor. You should see this. And the three main areas where you're going to modify your site are in the content structure, the media library, and in user accounts. But just to make sure everyone's on the same page, when you log in, you should see the content structure, and you have this tree on the left. And if you are to expand the tree, well, I'm logged in as a Yellowhead HQ, so forgot the name of the person who was the. Anyway, if you are,
yeah,
sorry, you should see this. If you are one of the libraries, then under library sites YRL, you should see both YRL training as well as yours. But everyone sees something different. So you see YRL training in Devon and Beaumont, etc. But that's just to orient ourselves in what we have access to. I will just start actually on the front end, so we kind of know what site we're talking about. So you are all joining the platform that Marigold and Peace have. And so if you've ever visited one of their websites, like Airdrie, who just rebranded, so take a look at their fancy new logo.
nice.
it should seem familiar, but I'll just walk you very quickly through the front end and the various features we have. First, you have the homepage. And the homepage, you have got all these different blocks. Now they can go in different order. They can have different content, but usually if you're going to have the slider, it's going to be at the top. And then you can have upcoming news, upcoming events. You can feature book lists. You can either have a single list or you can have multiple lists here, and then you can tab them. You can also make this block appear multiple times, so it doesn't all have to be in this one block. It could be, one here, one above news. This is a fun fact, we call it, but it's basically you can put any text you want, and then you can put a background. These are featured cards, just another way to, other than the carousel, to promote various parts of your site or even offsite. You got a block that is for land acknowledgement. And then down here, you've got some things that are part of the footer on every page. That's the newsletter sign up and a bunch of footer information. Then coming back up, in the header, you've got things that are repeated, of course, on every page, and you can customize that for your site. This menu is fully customizable with submenus. And you also have this contact and hours, which will go to a contact page. You also have the TrackPack login and these social media icons. And when we get, maybe in the second one, we'll get to editing the homepage. You can see all of the social media fields, social media profiles you can add. Another global thing, you've got search. And so you can, by default, it'll go off to the catalog, or it can be toggled here to search the website. And so I'll just search for anything, and actually I got nothing. But anyway, it'll return results from your site. That's the homepage and just general layout. One of the most common page types you'll have is called the general page. And the general page is just basically a body where you can format the content and it will produce a left menu for you. There's also events. On the events, we've got an events calendar. The events calendar will list all the actual events. You also have a list view. Well, you can toggle by week and day, but you also have a list view. And then within the event, you have basic information about the event. You can optionally have a registration form. The other piece of content here is news. So news is pretty basic. I don't know why there's not any news here, but you've got a news landing page, which should have been showing content, but then you've got a news item here, which is somewhat similar to just a general page, because just got a title and body content, but you can also add a date and an author. We also have e-resources. This will be populated by HQ, but every library site should have an e-resources page that will show all the same resources. Then you have the contact page, which shows general information about your library as well as its hours. Also a contact form. You can toggle this form on and off, but by default, it's always got a form. And the last thing I will show on the front end for now are the book lists. So we can feature these on the homepage. You can also embed them onto any other page. However, what happens when you click on these? Well, first of all, if you click on a book, it'll end up straight in the catalog. Or there is a page on your website where it'll show more information about the book list. And then from there, again, if you click the jacket or the title, it'll go off to the catalog. So that's the very quick front end tour, just to ease us into what we're modifying. Any questions?
There is a question from Dareth, and he's asking, can we populate the book list from a record set? I had the same question. So in our old websites, we would make a record set in the ILS and then put that record set number into the page. Dareth, it's a bit easier this time. You actually don't have to do anything in Polaris. It's all in the back end of the website to create the book list.
So you would build the list in the catalog basically, and then you import the whole list. Is the question?
Yeah, like, so we're not using items in a record set. You would go find the item in the catalog and put in, what were the 3 fields you could put in to bring the item over to the website again?
ISBN, UPC, and control number.
Okay. So yeah, you could use the bib record control number, the ISBN or the UPC to create that. Yeah. Question from Christy. Does the read a movie info come from the catalog? What do you mean by that, Christy? Like, does this little description here or the descriptions under the books?
If we're referring to this and this, these are all controllable in the CMS, this title. But I will show you how we build a book list.
Yeah, so the description, the title and the little description under the title would be something you could write, and then the descriptions under the books are pulled from the catalog, correct? Yeah.
That's right. It should become clear pretty soon. And I think I'll talk about, try and squeeze in the book list today, if not on Friday.
Okay. Any other questions? I don't think so. I'll let you know, Peter, if anything else pops up.
Great. So we're working on the staging site, and you can do anything you want on the staging site. Important thing about the staging site is it's just a copy of the production site, and I think I'll get you into the production site next time. But just for today, you can do anything you want here, and it's basically throwaway. That has a pro and a con. It means that don't put in a lot of work to things that you want to go in production, because then you're just going to have to manually move it on to production. But it also means you can do whatever you want, and periodically we will recreate the staging from production, basically copying production down and wiping out everything on staging. So treat staging for what it is, which is it's just for testing, and it's completely throwaway. Also, at just another high level note, I know that your current there's a expiry date for your current websites, and something like the end of April. But once you get trained on this platform and you get into production, and we've got a couple months to prep the new sites. We don't have to launch them all at once, and so if within a few weeks you're ready and you want to cut over, let's say end of March, then we can coordinate that. We can gradually move everybody over, so it doesn't all have to happen at the same time. Just everybody needs to be moved over before the end of April. Okay, so let's get into the back end. So you should see something like this. As I said earlier, it's maybe it's a little different depending on what library you're editing, but you'll see the content structure, media library, and user account. So how does that all work? The content structure is for all of the pages that are shown to the public. And the best way for me to illustrate that is just to take this path, and if I were to append it to where we are, I can get to this page in the back end. And so it basically maps what you see in the URL to the front end URL. But then you have some supporting items, user accounts. That's basically where you would have the logins, so you can manage who can log into your site. And then we've got the media library. The media library is where all the content that appears on pages but aren't pages themselves are stored. And one of the best examples is probably all the stuff that's on the homepage. So you would create a banner and then you put the banner on the homepage, but the banner lives here. Or those featured cards would live in the media library. So the content for this banner or the content for these cards you would create in the media library. But we spend probably most of our time working in the content structure. Oh, I should actually say that one of the most important other things that is in the media library is the menus. But we'll get into the menus a bit later. About permissions for user accounts, you should be able to manage the user accounts for your own library. And so you can edit and reset their password, create new users for your own library. All right, what I always like to start with is the general page. And the general page, if you're in the training site, if we go to About Us, that's where a lot of the general pages are stored. And let's start with Anywhere Public Library, just to show you how this fits. So in this About Us tree, you've got this structure all the way to Anywhere Public Library, and actually Anywhere Public Library has some child pages. So if I just paste this URL in to the training site, I can get to that page. And if I edit this page, this interface is, other than the home page, it should be pretty familiar across any of the pages on your site. And it's just a bunch of fields that you edit that are slightly different depending on the page you're on. In the case of the general page, we have a title. This static link is a little special to the general page. You can modify the URL if you'd like. So it'll auto-generate this part, Anywhere Public Library, based on the title. But if you wanted it to be About Us / Your Library / APL, let's say, then you would just put this here and it would use this field to generate the URL. Then you've got an optional hero image, and that appears at the top here. There's two ways to add a hero image. If you just want to upload it to this page, you can use this hero image field. If you want, you know that you're going to reuse it on other pages, then you can actually put it in the media library. And that's where the media library is handy, because you might have a particular hero image you want to use here. You want to use it on another page. You don't have to then re-upload it or maintain it in multiple places. The crux of the general page happens in the body. And the body is what we like to call just a rich text area, where you should find most of these controls pretty intuitive, whether that's specifying a header or bold and italics, alignment. One of the things that you can do as well is you can embed an image. So if we click this image icon, then you can either upload a new one, or I can browse from what people have already uploaded. So if I click browse and I go to the media library, then let's see what we have here. Mugo logo, let's go for that. And I can embed an image. Other things you can do here, you can embed book lists. So we have this button here that's insert edit image. You have another one where you can edit or insert edit any kind of other object. And so one of the most common things you might do is you would embed a book list. So if you go to browse again, you can browse your tree. This time book lists, in this case, have been all put into this book lists folder. They don't have to, but that's how they've been organized here. And I can embed a book list. I'll show you how that looks in a moment. I'll just show you one other thing. This other button in this trio of powerful buttons is insert custom tag. And here you have all sorts of things you can do. You can put in a block quote. You can embed certain videos. Let's say for YouTube, for example, all you have to do is paste in the YouTube video ID. But here I'm just going to show you the accordion. I'm going to create, let's say, 2 accordions. So the first title, let's say, I don't know, spring. And then I'm going to do another one under here. I'm going to insert custom tag, insert another accordion summer. And those are the titles. So within here, what can I say about spring? It's a lovely time. And in the summer, surprise, it's another lovely time. All right. So that just some basic stuff that we can do in the general page. What you can do is you can preview that. Oh, I don't have access to that. Let's pretend I didn't show you that. You should be able to preview, but let's just publish those changes. And if I refresh, there I've got my embedded image. I've an embedded book list, and here are the lovely accordions. The other thing I wanted to say about that, I didn't mention how that menu works. The menu is auto-generated and will go 2 levels deep. And so if you have anything beyond, let's say this level, mission and vision, then it will not appear in the menu. You'll have to link it in this page, but it'll automatically show all of the pages in this tree. We got some questions, so let me just pause there for any questions about the general page and see if there's anything that we should cover from the chat questions. Does the rich text field recognize word formatting? For the most part, you can copy and paste from Word, but depends on how fancy it gets. Certainly basic formatting will come in fine. But if there's already images in there, I think it struggles because it's got to have the images properly created in the CMS. But if I were just to take like headings and bold, italic, and links, then it should paste in fine. Okay, I'm going to show you one more thing, and then I'm going to actually ask you to create your own general page just to get some hands-on experience. I didn't cover links, and that question reminded me. So let's say I've got some text here. Enjoy our... Oh, did you know that March 10th is apparently Mario Day? We have another library that is putting on a whole bunch of things for Mario Day. So events. So here's how you do some the link. You just select the text, and there is the link button right here. You can do 2 things. You can just paste in the URL, and this is the one with Mario Day. And there you go, you got a link. You can do something else with it. You can turn that link into a button. You just have to select this class here, make it a button. This depending on the color scheme we'll get to later, you can select button primary or button secondary. I'm just going to choose primary so you can see the effect. The other thing you can do is you can link to a page internal to your website. And instead of just pasting the URL, if you insert this link here and then you use this icon here, which is browse, you can select the page that you want to link to. And that is often better if you have an internal page, because then if the page gets renamed or it gets moved, then that link will follow. So it'll automatically update on this page. Here's a normal link to events. So let me just show you the result there. There's one other thing you can do. So I turned that into a button, and here is a normal link. So let's just take a couple minutes, and you can create some content. So how are you going to do that? So let's say that in the training site, we're going to create it underneath the About Us tree. So you find your way to About Us. Let's use the left menu. I'm going to give you some little other tricks later. And you go to About Us, and let's say you want to create a page under here. Then there's this Create New Sub Item button. It'll give you a few options. One of them is General Page, and you're off to the races. You can fill in your fields, put something into the body content, and then hit Send for publishing. I'll give you a few minutes, see if any questions come up, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Looks like we've got some content already. Sarah's posted an awesome webpage. Michael asked how to change the default font in the titles. The font is part of the design. It's not currently one of the things you can change. I will show you the things that can be changed. It's mostly the colors. Oh, we've got more pages here. Got a cat page, an accordion. Oh, an accordion in an accordion. That might have actually been a, oh, I have a little trick for that. But there's a video. One thing is you might sometimes find yourself in an element. Let me just pick any page. Let's say you create an accordion and accordion 1. This is the text. One of the things you can do, if you actually, let's say you created 2 accordions, accordion 2, but you want to get between them. So if you're ever in one of these elements and you want to get out of it, you just press Control Enter. And you'll just go to the next one. The other thing you can do is if you use these arrows, then it'll move these in different orders and create some space as well. If you want to remove an accordion, you usually just have to select the text and you just press backspace. But if you have a specific issue, certainly we can follow up on that afterwards. I haven't tried emojis, but I mean, it's something we do on other sites. So, I mean, it's something we can also look into. If there's like we're trying to put in the title or something. Okay, I think we can move on to the next thing unless there's any last issues with general pages. All right, let's talk about news. So news is even more simple than a general page, and usually you just have one news landing page, and here's the news page. It now actually shows the news items on the training site. And all it does is it just shows the items in reverse chronological order. And if we go to the back end for news, go here to news, you can see all of these sub items. And so I can edit one of them. And I can see the content here. And I'll describe briefly what this is for. So we got the title of the news item. And let's just go here. We got the title of the news item. We've got the date. We have a short description. You'll see this in a couple of places where we've got a short description and a body. In this case, the short description doesn't allow formatting on purpose because that's what's shown in the listing on the news page. It'll also show that in the search results, as well as the block on the home page if you use it. And then other fields got an image that'll appear as a hero image if you use it. And then the body. The body you should now be a little bit familiar with from the general page, and it works just the same as the general page. It's much simpler when you get here. There's no left menu. It'll just bring you back to news by the breadcrumb or here, and then it's got the body of the content. And then there's this author. So if you don't use an author, it won't display anything. In this case, let's say that Lena wrote this. So if we just refresh this, then you'll see that author field appear. So just to get a little more practice, and you can say that you've now covered the second page type, how about everyone try creating a news item? So if you just go to the news tree, go to the news tree in the left menu, and then if you create a new sub item, you should be able to create a new news page, and then you can publish that page. It's a hot news day, apparently. We've got a tip from Andrew. Download the content from your old websites. Oh, we've even got someone with an image. Kirby, is that Kirby the bubble guy? Because I just learned about Kirby the other day, and he eats everything. Okay, looks like you're all news posting pros now. Okay, I'm going to show you one more piece of content, and then we'll talk about just some editing rules, how to get around. Galleries. So we have a feature for photo galleries. And let me just show you on the front end, because I didn't show you at the very beginning. We got a gallery landing page. Within the gallery landing page, you can have individual photo galleries. And then within each photo gallery, you have the images. And so that's pretty straightforward. In the back end, you've got a gallery landing page. Then each of these are just gallery pages. And then within them, you've got gallery items. The fields, I'm not going to edit this. It's straightforward. There's just the title for the gallery landing page. For the actual gallery, you've got a title, date, and a description. And then you have the sub items. The thing to note about the gallery is that we have this feature called upload files, where you can upload multiple images at once. In case you knew who Kaylee from Marigold, she loves cats, and she was the one who created this, but I'll show you the multi-upload feature. So we've got this button here, upload files. There's some pictures from my colleague's trip to Japan, and I'm just going to upload a couple of them. And it's uploaded 2 of them in batch. And you can enter a title, some image alt text, a caption. I wasn't on this trip, so I don't even know what these are. Japan picture 1. This is not a training on how to write good alt text, so please forgive me. Statue in Japan. A lot of times, I'll show you on the front end what happens with the caption. A lot of times your caption and your alt text might end up being the same. There'll be reasons why they aren't, but for this demo, let's just say that, do that. Nice path. Oh, it's auto-saving. Okay, save. So now I have created these 2 additional pictures. So if I go over to Kaylee's cat gallery, we've now got this. I actually don't know why it got rotated. Actually, the source is probably rotated, so I'll rotate it before I upload it next time. But it'll give you an idea of the caption. The caption is showing up here, and the alt text, if I were to inspect the image, the alt text will be on the image itself. You cannot upload videos. The galleries are currently only for pictures. So if you want to embed videos, then you have to just put that directly into like a general page or another page. These are currently only image galleries. All right, so we have gone through general page, news page, and image galleries. Let's take a step back and tell you a little bit about the back end. So the first thing is how to get around. Now, you probably figured this out already because I've made you create some content. There are a few ways to get around in the back end. First of all, well, you would toggle between these trees, and we'll get into why you would get into the media library a bit later. But content structure, media library, user accounts. Once you're within one of these, you've got this really handy left menu. This helps you get to the main pages of where you want to go, but it doesn't show everything on purpose. So it's not going to show like all your events or all your news items. So it doesn't show those content types in this menu. But you can get pretty deep in the tree to where you want to go. Let's say I just wanted to get to the news page, so I click there. The other way to get around is using sub items. So if I go all the way back to the home page of YRL training, we've got these tabs here. Most of the time, it defaults to showing your sub item. The only time it won't is because it doesn't make sense for that content type to have sub items. I think contact's not one of them. A registration form, for example, won't default to sub items. But let's say I wanted to get to news. Anywhere in the sub items shows you a list of sub items. It's paginated. I can click over to news, and then I can click into one of the news items. The third way, so the first is use the tree. The second is use sub items. The third is, if you want to go back up, well, you can use the breadcrumbs. And the fourth trick I showed you at the beginning is if you have the URL, then you just take that path. The only difference in the path is that you have to make sure that you are in the path relative to your site. So we're in the training site, and so you paste that URL, you can get over to that particular page in the back end. So that's how to get around. How to create content. Usually you just browse to where you want to go and you create the sub item. It is generally contextual, so you won't see all of the content types available. Like you can't create a featured card in the content structure. But under this menu, you should be able to find what you need to create where you are. About editing. So let's just pick Sarah's awesome webpage. So to edit a page, you go to the page and you click edit. You can also edit it from the sub items area. So if you click this little icon here, you just left click, then you can get this edit menu. Same thing as clicking the edit button there. And actually, this is the perfect example of what it's trying to get to. So when you go to edit a page, it creates a new draft. And that draft is for you. So if someone is also working on that page and that draft is open, it's going to warn you. It's going to say, oh, Courtney has this piece of content open. And so you have we have a couple main options. One is, well, you can call Courtney and you say, well, I'm going to wait for, can you remove your draft because I'm going to work on this page? Or you can create another draft. It's your own draft, and then you can edit that draft. You got to be careful here, because if you create this draft, you publish that, then, well, now Andrea's got an open draft. Andrea may publish that content, and that may become the published version. So you've got to be careful there. I will tell you about versions and the version history. This will save us in a lot of cases. But let's say I create a new draft. So I'm working on this piece of content, and like we've been doing in this training, you can publish it. The other things you can do, you can store a draft. It's just save. You can also store draft and exit. So you're working on this page, you want to go work on something else. You know you're going to come back to it. You just store draft and exit, and it basically just saved it and brought you back to the tree. So if I go back to edit it, it'll tell me that I've been editing this piece of content. I can continue to edit it. One of the most important things you might do, though, is you might discard your draft. And so sometimes you went in to edit something and you're like, oh, there's nothing actually to change, or I got to come back. I'm not going to save draft, leave my draft open. Or you were just trying to inspect it to see what the backend content was, but you weren't intending to publish it. You want to discard your draft. The reason why you want to do that is so that someone's not going to come along to this page and see that you have an open draft and cause confusion because you actually were never intending to do anything for that draft. Now, of course, if that were to happen, then they just tell you to go discard your draft. You go edit it, resume editing that page, and discard your draft. Where these versions come into play is, so next to edit, you've got these 3 dots. You've got some things you can do here, but manage versions is the important thing here. So every time you create a piece of, every time you edit a piece of content, it's going to create a new version, and it stores up to 10 of the latest version. So if you got up to 10, you created the 11th version, it's going to automatically remove the first version. But here you can see a history of who has been working on what version. And let's say you wanted to restore a version. Well, let's say that the last version that Sarah created was the one that I wanted. You don't go back to that version. In order for the CMS to preserve the history of what happened, what you do when you want to so-called restore a version is you would copy that version. And so in this case, I would click this icon here for copy. Then I've got my draft that I can then continue if I wanted just that version that Sarah had been working on and I'm so-called restoring it. Then I would just publish this, or I could make an edit and then I would publish it. In any case, it would create a new version that was a copy of that. And that's where the version history comes into play, where it's going to create a version for you, a new version that was a copy of the previous version. But I was just showing you how to do this, and it was a good lesson for discarding the draft. And so that principle is kind of just don't use the back button when you're editing, because then you might, if you use the back button, you're more susceptible to just leaving open drafts. The question is, where can you find all your current drafts? In the dashboard. The thing I haven't showed you, there should be an area called My Drafts. And while we're here, in staging, it's not really going to matter much because at some point we're going to copy down from production. But if you don't want to have an insecure password of YRL training, you have a few places you can change your password. Either in dashboard, you can click change password, or if you click this bottom left logo, then it pulls up your account and you can change your password there. Okay, one more general detail is related to the sub items window. So there are a few things about that. So let's go to here. This sub items has columns, and it might be different depending on who's logged in, but you can customize what gets shown here. For example, I can't tell what type of content these are. I know they're mostly just all general pages because that's what we were doing here, but I can't see that right now. I don't want to have to go here and see, okay, it was a general page. I can customize this table in a couple of ways. And I do that with this table options. One of the things is to modify how many items are shown on this page. So it gets paginated after a while, but if you've got an area of the site where you know, okay, well, there's always going to be a lot of items and I want to see, allow you to show up to 50, you can change that here. It's not going to make a difference here because there's not that many here. The other thing is you can change what columns are shown. And the things that I would use the most, that I would check here, are the type. So I'm just going to close that. You can see now it tells me what type of content that was. Go back to the table options. Modified and modifier, I find those very useful. Who edited it last and at what time? In this case, translations isn't very useful because it's all going to be English, but I can remove that. The other thing is visibility. I haven't shown you how to hide things, but it'll show you whether a page is hidden or not. And the reason why I'm showing you the sub items is because we have this priority ordering. Priority ordering matters for at least a couple of places. One is when it is generating the left menu for general pages. And the other is the main menu on the site, but we'll do that main menu editing in a follow-up training, but that's where priority comes into play. So let's pick a nice piece of content that's easier to follow. So let's say Anywhere Public Library. Under here, you've got this test page for Christine History and Mission and Vision. So let's actually just go to that Anywhere Public Library page. It was under your library, Anywhere Public Library. Here are the 3 pages, and they're ordered based on this priority here. So let's say I wanted this to be last. I can just change this, put this at the end, and I wanted Mission and Vision above History. Well, I can just move this to be lower than History, and if I refresh that, I should see that new order being reflected. That's where priority comes into play. A tip about priority is, like, you can just do 1, 2, 3, but it's not going to leave you much space if you want to fit things in between. So I like to always at least do it in 10s. You can get crazy and do it like hundreds if you want, but then you've always got some space to slot things in between. I wanted to create a new page. I wanted to go between history and test page here. I could put it as a priority 25, and then even then it's still got space if I want to put things in between. So I don't have to always reorder everything if I just use 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we've got about 5 minutes left. I can keep going on showing you one more piece of content, but I'll pause here to see if there's any questions. All right, let's get the most out of the last few minutes, and I will show you something pretty easy, which is the contact us page. So every site can have up to 1 of these contact us pages. It should already be created in your library tree. So you don't have to create it, but if for some reason it's being removed, you can create a new contact us page. And let's go to that for our training site. And I showed you this at the beginning, but just a review of what's being shown here. We've got some hours, we've got the contact information, and we've got the form. Now, I haven't shown you the homepage. The homepage is where you enter actually all of this information. The contact page is pretty straightforward. So I can edit this here from the submenu. Show you a couple of things here. You should now be familiar with a few things: the title, the hero image fields. You can also toggle this to hide the form, and you can also specify who should receive this. Now, we copied this from Marigold, which is why this is seated here, but let's just say it was you wanted the contact form to go to this address. Then you can customize that here. If I change this, it's not going to show anything different because contact page is going to be the same. If for some reason you don't want a contact page, I know we talked about how there are a couple of libraries where the website is for many branches and maybe it doesn't make sense to have the centralized contact page. You can hide the page. Here's how you hide a page. If you go to the locations tab, then you can click this hide button. There's also another way to do this in that fancy pop-up menu here. So if I look at sub items 1 level above where contact is, and I click on this icon, under here, you've got under advanced, you can hide the page. So what happens if I hide the page? Now it will show me as hidden. I can't actually access that anymore. And the thing that happened is that menu item up there is now removed because that will only show when you have a contact page. All right, so that's the contact page, and I'm just going to reveal it in the other way you do it, which is in the locations area. I can click this link here at reveal, and if I refresh this, it'll come back, and it's got that link now too. So I've shown you then, in this case, the contact us page content type, as well as how to hide and reveal content. Oh, yes, that's, yeah, well, Lena's got the answer. So this is something that we're going to be working on after we go live, is this announcement banner feature that you can attach to the top of your site. This is another library we worked on where we'll be porting this feature, but it'll be a It's an upcoming feature. Okay, so the next training is going to be on Friday. This training is recorded, and I encourage you between now and Friday to just mess around a little bit on the training site as well as on your own site. You said if you were logged in with one of the library accounts, then you should see not just the training site, but your own site, and you should have a map of everyone's URLs on staging. And you can just get a feel for the system, do some editing, maybe explore some things I haven't shown you yet, and we'll be covering more in the second and third trainings. You're probably right that the next training is Monday.
It is next Monday, yes. And then
All right,
it's the last training is the Friday of that week.
you're right. All right, sorry, let's just rewind. And the next training is Monday, March 13th. And then the third training is Friday, March 17th, both at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Mountain. All right, I will stop the recording.